How many unplayed board games in your collection is too many? I think this is a really interesting question, and I know it's going to wildly differ depending on who you ask, where they're at in their life, where they're at in the hobby itself, and I just think it's interesting. Now, this is more of a conversational video. I don't have any kind of agenda or any kind of judgment I'm trying to push on to anyone, but I think it is interesting. I've talked to a lot of my friends. Some friends have 0 games on their shelf of shame. They make sure they play everything as soon as they buy it. I have other friends who have dozens and dozens of games, and they love that. They like to grow their collection, and they like to have a lot of different options when they want to play something new. For me personally, I think I fall sort of in the middle of that. So I've been in the hobby for about 1 year and 8 months, and when I first got into the hobby back in September of 2022, I was a video gamer, my whole life I have been, and when I discovered board games, it was quite literally a whole new world. It was quite literally a whole new world, and it made that experience really enjoyable, but at the same time, I feel like I sort of went off the deep end a little bit. I was buying games left and right. I was like, oh, this looks cool, this looks cool. One of the first games was Jaws of the Lion that I played, and it really blew my mind. I had no idea board games could be that crazy and that awesome. But long story short, I worked really hard in the last year or so to play a lot of the games that I bought but never got a chance to play, and I sort of set a soft cap of 10 games that I like to have on my shelf of opportunity, shelf of shame, whatever you want to call it. And it's not always perfect. Right now I actually have a few more games than that. I think I have around 12 or so in my shelf of shame, but what about you guys? That's what I'm really curious about. What's your outlook on this? Do you have any kind of cap? Do you even pay attention to the games that you have? Let me know in the comments below. That's really what I wanted to post this about and just get your opinions, get your outlook on the matter. Now, I also wanted to go through my shelf of shame. So the last video I did was around 8 months ago, and the list now is completely different. Thankfully, I played everything on the last shelf of shame as far as I know. And so let's start with the first one on the list here. This is a game I really, really want to play. This is Darwin's Journey. In this game, you are essentially exploring the Galapagos Islands. I think the theme is really, really interesting. It's also shooting up on Board Game Geek. I think it's already like I don't know if it's top 200. I think it's top 200, but it looks really interesting, and ultimately I just haven't had a chance to get this to the table. My current gaming groups, we already have stuff lined up for like the next 2 months. So I'm gonna figure out a place that I can squeeze this in, whether it be, me playing it solo, but all in all, super hyped to play this one. This one, man, I've had this game for a minute now. I don't think this was on the last one, but this is Dinosaur World. So if you know anything about me, I love this whole collection of games. I haven't played this one, but I really enjoy Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island Roll and Write is my favorite roll and write of all time. Love it, love it. And so I just haven't had the chance to play this one. I have done a little bit of research, and I know the consensus is that a lot of people feel like this one sort of overstays its welcome, but who knows? I'm trying to go in with a blank slate. I love these games, so I'm probably gonna be a little biased anyways, and I think I'm gonna love this regardless. But yeah, super looking forward to this one. Let's see, this one, okay. I'm counting this one, but I have played this one. This is Sky Team. I played this on Board Game Arena, but I have not played my copy, so I am counting it. And there's a few other games on this list that sort of have the same thing. But in this game, you are working with one other person. One person is the pilot, one person is the co-pilot, and you're rolling dice and assigning dice in the cockpit, and there's all kinds of different actions you can take. It's actually a really fun game, but ultimately you're trying to land your plane. And yeah, this one's really cool. I think the limited communication in the game makes it very interesting and very unique, especially in comparison to other games in my collection. I don't really have anything like this, so yeah, we'll see how it is. I already really enjoyed it on BGA, and the fact that I liked it a lot on BGA, I typically always prefer games in person. So I think it's safe to say I'm gonna enjoy this one, but we'll see, who knows. This game, this is Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 1. I got this at TokenCon's flea market, and I really enjoy Unmatched. I have one other set, I have Hell's Kitchen, and so just haven't had the opportunity to play this. I have quite a few skirmish type games. Mantle of the Keeper is one of my favorites right now. But I know I'm gonna like this. It's just a matter of getting it to the table. So that's the only thing with that one. This is another game that I bought at TokenCon. This is Champions of Midgard, a Viking-themed game where you are working to slay monsters, go explore the land, and like you do something with ships. I know there's ships in the game, But ultimately, yeah, this is just something I haven't gotten to the table. I really want to play it. It's just a matter of most other games on this list actually getting it to the table. So who knows? I've heard really good things about it. So we'll have to see. This kind of counts. So I played half of a game of Wormspan. A little more than half. We actually almost finished it, but we didn't finish it, so I'm still counting it. And in this game, this is sort of not a complete reskin, but it's very similar to Wingspan, if you've ever played that. And in this game, you have dragons, and you are trying to excavate caves and lure dragons into your caves. And it's a fun little engine builder. And I actually preferred this already. The half game that I played, I much preferred it to Wingspan. I think it's a little more strategic, a little more intentional in the gameplay. And all in all, it's just a matter of playing the game. So we'll see. I want to get this one. This is one of the higher games on the list as far as what I want to play next. I think for sure, we'll go through all of these and then I'll sort of order what I want to play the most. This one is Jerusalem Anno Domini. And in this game, you are working to sit as close to Jesus as you can, during the Last Supper, sort of a musical chairs type of game. Very heavy game from what it looks like. And I honestly think the theme is what drew me into this the most. Very unexplored theme. You don't see any kind of like religious theme stuff that often, but who knows? I've heard this game's pretty good. According to BGG, I think it's sitting at around a 7 on their scale. So yeah, this is if I'm being honest, this is probably one of the lower games on my want to play list. But I do plan to play it before I sell it or anything like that. But we'll see. I'll let you know how this one is. Okay, we got 2 more, not too many more. All right. I also had the chance to go to Game Nerds, the brick and mortar store down in Dallas when I was passing through, and I actually I did want this game, but I wanted to buy something in that store because I love Game Nerds, and they had a copy of Great Western Trail New Zealand, so I picked it up. I love Great Western Trail. It's a really fun game where you're essentially a cowboy and you're herding cattle, and then you go to Kansas City and ship them off, and then you do it all over again. It's a fun loop. In New Zealand, instead of cattle, you have sheep, and the board looks really cool. I don't know how much this differs from the regular edition of the game, but this is, from a lot of the posts on Reddit and BGG I've seen, this is kind of, I don't know if it's a consensus, but a lot of people like this one even more than the Great Western Trail normal edition. So we'll see. Super hyped to play this one. This might be number 1 on my to play list. This and Darwin's Journey are pretty close. Next up, we have Fallout, the board game, and the Atomic Bonds expansion. Now, I have played the base game already, but I am counting this because I have not used the expansion, which apparently changes the game pretty drastically. Now, when I played this a few weeks ago, it's definitely a weird game. I feel like it's sort of confused on what it's trying to do or what it's trying to be. And what I mean by that is it is a versus game, but you can't like fight the other players and you can't even really interact with them. I think you might be able to trade. That's about the extent of the interaction with other players. And what you're doing is you're working to complete quests. So there's quest lines, and each quest will have typically will have several different cards you have to complete until you get that final reward. Now, what's weird is that I might be working on this quest line, and the quests are cool. One of them was to go help find a little girl's sister who was lost in the kind of apocalyptic town nearby, so I had to go and explore it and find her. But as I'm completing these, once I get to that final card, I've worked so hard to get there. Any other player, though, can come in, essentially, and complete that quest and take those rewards. So it's just, I don't know. I didn't know how I felt about that, but according to BGG and what I've been reading about, Atomic Bonds really changes the game because, quite literally, it changes it from being a versus game to a cooperative game, which I feel like is more fitting for this. When I go play Fallout or like Fallout 76, I'm playing with my friends and we're working together, looting different things, fighting different monsters, completing quests. So I am looking forward to this as well. This is pretty high on my to play list. I would say out of all of those games, Great Western Trail and Darwin's Journey are like number 1 and 2, very close. I really want to play those. And then probably, honestly, I'd say Fallout is 3 with that expansion. Let's see, Champions of Midgard's up there. As far as what's lower on the list, I would say probably the Unmatched set and then Jerusalem. So at the end of the day, I'm going to try to get all these played. But we'll see how it goes. And that's my Shelf of Shame. shelf of opportunity, whatever you want to call it. But what about you guys? What do you have in your shelf of shame? As I mentioned before, do you have any kind of cap? Do you even count them at all? Let me know in the comments below. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This is Jordan here at Totally Bored. We'll see you next time.